Welcome to the Kollel's 41st anniversary dinner, which is being dedicated to the memory of two famous and beloved Detroiters, Mr. Benno and Mrs. Ruth Levy, Zeichel Bracha. May this evening be an aliyah for their neshamos. I wish to extend a special welcome to our honorees, Dr. and Mrs. Noah Levy, Mr. and Mrs. Yosef Bowman, and Mr. and Mrs. Michael Halon. I am also pleased to welcome the honorary dinner chairman, the leader of Congregation Shomrei Emunah, Rabbi Zacharias. I also wish to extend a warm welcome to tonight's dinner chairman, Rabbi Binyamin Benjamin. Baruch Hashem, this year's dinner campaign has been a great success. For this, the Kollel wishes to publicly thank the Levy, Bowman, and Halon families, the Kollel's hardworking administrative staff, Mrs. Leah Poulter, Mrs. Shulamis Kantrowitz, Rabbi Ruvain Green, and thanks also to Betty Gasner and Mrs. Sarah Hoyda. And all of you who placed an ad and joined us this evening. I also would like to thank Mr. Kerry Silver for the music and Noah Klein for the video presentation. At this time, I would like to call the Rosh Chabur of the Kollel, Rabbi Yitzchak Schwab.
Tonight, we are a few short weeks before Pesach, which is referred to as Man Cheruseinu. On Pesach, we celebrate the fact that our nation was freed from all outside oppression. Klal Yisrael's understanding of Cheres is unique from all other nations of the world. The rest of the world celebrates freedom for the mere fact that they were free from a master telling them what to do and what not to do. To Klal Yisrael da'aftocha v'hitzeisi eschem v'tachas sivleis Mitzrayim, Hashem's promise that He would take us out from under the burden of Mitzrayim is merely a precondition, a first step to real Cheres. For us Yidden, true Cheres is only when one's life is dedicated to Torah and mitzvahs. This is what the Mishnah Novis means when it says, Ein lecha ben chayrin ela mi sha'isik b'Torah. One can only be free from all outside influences when one is absorbed in Torah mitzvahs. The mitzvah Sfiras Ha'omer starts on the second day of Pesach, when we count 49 days to the Yontiv of Shavuos, when we are mekabel the Torah. This mitzvah Sfiras Ha'omer teaches us that without accepting the spiritual fire from our Sinai as our guiding light, our journey to freedom, which began on Pesach, is incomplete. One that observes our 2,000 years of Golus wonders what gives us from Yidden the passion to keep the Torah mitzvahs throughout all the trying times of our history. Not only were the Yidden forced to wander from place to place, but even learning and teaching Torah was outlawed. Despite this, we know that Klal Yisrael continued to flourish. Much was added to Chidushei Torah and the Dukei Halacha, the in-depth learning and understanding of Halacha. What gave Kollel Yisrael the koyach to persevere was the understanding that in order to have a rich and meaningful life, our lives have to be pulsating with Torah and mitzvahs. Therefore, we have to make the Ritzoin Hashem and the Limud HaTorah the passion of our lives. A life without the direction of Torah is not a true life. As a community, we must constantly show and encourage each other the only a life of Torah and mitzvahs will bring us a complete freedom from all outside ashpoyas. The Kollel is the community's Mokum Torah, where Choshva Balabatim are Kavei Itim LeTorah, together with our most Choshva Yungalite. Together, we are learning, teaching, and growing, constantly rededicating ourselves and encouraging each other with the basic truth that we are only truly free if we live a life of learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. May we all be zoichet to the ultimate cheders of Yemois HaMashiach. Amen.
Soup will be served. just want to mention that there's a gray Toyota Corolla with the lights on. In all honesty, I was just approached for this role of serving as the Master of Ceremonies this past Sunday night when I received multiple calls from Ruben Green as we were driving back from Chicago. When he asked if I would serve in this capacity, my first impulse, of course, was to say no. But then I thought about Rabbi Schwab's frequent reference to the Kollel family, and I see here tonight, Baruch Hashem, we are well represented by the Kollel's large, extended family. So the bottom line is, you don't say no to family. Speaking of family, on behalf of the Faitler and Levin families, my three brothers-in-law, I want to express our Hakos Tov to the Roshei Kollel for everything the Kollel has provided us. A Makam Torah, a place of learning, we have chavrusas, we attend shirim regularly, a Makam Tefillah, a place of prayer, a Makam Chinuch, a place that through its example influenced our children to develop a deep connection to Torah. Like a great many of you, my first encounter with the Kollel was some 30 plus years ago, when I had the opportunity to learn with a young Kollel man named Rabbi Mordechai Swatiski. He has since remained a lifelong mentor to my family. And I may just like to wish that the Kollel's hashpah, its radiating impact, continue until the coming of Mashiach. At this time, I'd like to call on our dinner chairman, Rabbi Binyamin Benjamin.
I want to take you about 2,000 miles from here. So we're going to get transported to Seattle, Washington, to the world headquarters of the Starbucks Coffee Company. But not yet. Before I do, I want to welcome everyone to the 41st annual dinner of the Kollel. I want to wish a hearty mazel tov to our Keser Shem Tov awardee, Dr. and Mrs. Noah Levy, and of course our Kviyas Itim awardees, Mr. and Mrs. Yosef Bowman, and Mr. and Mrs. Michal Hallen on these well-deserved honors. Of course, the Kollel is a place where the light of Torah is burning constantly, probably close to 24 hours a day, 9 minyanim, and to me, the Kollel is actually much more than that. The Kollel is a place where the true midos of what it is to be a Ben Torah, that's exemplified in the warmth and the selflessness of the Chavrei HaKollel, of the Roshei HaKollel, really comes through. This is a special place with special people, and we are very fortunate to have the Kollel within our community. But let me get back to Seattle. I was going to be making a business presentation to a number of executives at Starbucks. And we heard, in preparation for the meeting, that it was possible that Howard Schultz, the CEO and founder of Starbucks, was potentially going to join us for a few minutes at the meeting. Howard is a Brooklyn-born Jew, and he is viewed by some as being one of the top 10 innovators, business innovators, of the 20th century. And why shouldn't he be? Figured out how to make $1 billion out of a cup of coffee. So in preparing for the meeting, I reviewed their annual reports, their 10K statements, and I read Howard Schultz has published a couple of books. I read his books where he talks about himself and he talks about his company. And I did this research, and actually when I got to Seattle and I entered the coffee, I say coffee because the coffee aroma hits you as soon as you enter the world headquarters. there's this wonderful smell that hits you, and it's really a fascinating place how they build their very unique business model. Anyway, Howard did join us for about 15 minutes of the meeting. He sat right next to me. I told him, you were born in Brooklyn, I was born in the Bronx, but we're both from New York. And it turned out to be a very good meeting. But I'm not saying that I'm very tight with Howard Schultz, but I met him. In my research about Howard Schultz, I uncovered a story that Howard Schultz wrote about his encounter with Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel, Zatzal, the Rosh Yeshiva of the Mir. A group of prominent Jewish businessmen went on a trip to Israel to look over the country, to see the country. And of course, they were VIPs. They were shuttled north, south, east, west. They got to see ancient sites and holy sites and military bases. And somebody told them that, you know, if you're in Yerushalayim, there's a very special Jew. It would be worthwhile for you gentlemen to go sit by Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel. And that's what they did. The group was ushered into his apartment, and all of a sudden you have these business leaders, these captains of industry, and they're sitting around the table with Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel. And he says, I want to ask you a question. He said, what do you think the lesson of the Holocaust was? A terrible event that befell our people. What do you think? I want to know from you, you business leaders. Tell me what you think is the message. What's the lesson? Everyone was afraid to answer. All of a sudden, these men that were bossing around thousands of people were afraid. They were shaking in their chair. They didn't want to answer. One person finally raised his hand and he said that we should never ever forget. Okay, that was an answer. Somebody else said, we will never ever be a victim again. Reb Nosson Tzvi said, I understand what you're saying, but that's not the answer. He said that the Jews suffered so during that period. The inhumane treatment in the ghettos, in the preamble to that terrible period, the transport to the camps, the selection, and then if they lived, they went to barracks, and under terrible conditions, they were given one blanket for 6 people. And he said by rights, that blanket should have been ripped to shreds. Each person should have taken that blanket and pulled it to himself. And I would pull it to myself, and he would pull it to himself, and there would be nothing left. But he said that's not what happened. Instead of pulling the blanket to themselves, they pushed it to the neediest, to the sickest, to the ones that were suffering the most. Instead of pulling it towards them, they pushed it away from them. They pushed it to Yenim. He said that that's the lesson of the Holocaust. Now, a postscript to this story is that when everyone left, Howard Schultz remained because he was so taken by this gadol, this tzaddik, Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel. And he took out his checkbook and he wrote a blank check. He signed his name, he put his date, but he didn't put in the amount. And he didn't put to who it was. Now, the Mir, desperate need of money, all sorts of needs that could have been satisfied, changed the course of history of the institution, endowments, all kinds of things. And Howard Schultz is a billionaire many times over. Reb Nosson Tzvi fills the check out, and he gives it back to Howard, and he says, here's a check for $1,200. It's made out to the cipher who lives down the block. I want you to go there, and I want you to give him this check and get a pair of tefillin for yourself. That's what Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel did. A tzaddik, a gadol, lives by the principles that they talk about. and understands what it is to live beyond yourselves. I am very fortunate that over the last number of decades, I've come to know Rabbi Schwab and Rabbi Irons and the Chavrei Kollel on a personal level. And we are fortunate to have in our community men of this stature. Tzadik Boyer, Hu Haida, Hu Ziva, Hu Hadara. When you walk into the Kollel at any given moment, you can see Rabbi Irons learning with a whole spectrum of individuals. It spans age, it spans levels of commitment, but all of them sit there. Rabbi Irons sits in his desk, and across from him, with love and with warmth, Oyev es Abrios u'Makarven L'Torah. Rabbi Schwab's home is a nexus for chesed, for eitzah. People come there, things are going well for them, they want to talk to Rabbi Schwab and his family about how to make it better. Things are not going well, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Rabbi Schwab's home is that center for chesed. A tzaddik, a gadol, a kollel lives by the principles they talk about and understands that our mission is to go beyond ourselves, to push outward, not to pull inward. Let's all resolve to support the Kollel in its holy mission of teaching, learning, and growing. Thank you. It is my great covet and honor to introduce our next speaker, Harav Shmuel Irons, Shlita.
The Gemara in Sanhedrin, in Zion Omid Aleph in 7a, explains that after a person lives a full life and stands before the Beis Din Shalmaila, the divine tribunal, reviewing his life, the first order of business is regarding the person's study of Torah. The commentary, the Tosfos, asks the question, this statement that the first order of business is the study of Torah seems to be contradicted by a statement from another passage of the Talmud. The Gemara in Shabbos and Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph in 31a, where the Gemara describes that there are 6 questions that are asked a person as he stands before the divine tribunal, the Beis Din Shalmaila. The first question is, Nesosa v'nesata b'amuna. Did you conduct your business affairs with integrity, with honesty, with faithfulness? The second question is, Kovata itim la Torah. Did you set aside time to study Torah? From that Gemara, it would seem that Torah is the second question. From the previous quotation, Gemara in Sanhedrin, would seem to be the first. Is it the first or is it the second? That's the question that Tosfos asks. And Tosfos answers as follows. For a person who did not value the study of Torah, did not study Torah, the first order of business is, why didn't you study Torah? But for a person who valued Torah, Torah was very important to him. And he did take time to study the Torah out of his day, out of his life. Such a person is not asked the question, did you study Torah? The questions that are asked are the questions posed in the Gemara and Shabbos and Lamed Aleph. First, the order of business. How did you conduct your business? But the second one is, and close to the question of business, is did you set aside time to study Torah on a regular basis? They tell him, we know you study Torah. We know you love Torah and you value Torah. But was it such an essential part of your life that it was you always had a set time? Just that you have a set time to sleep, to eat breakfast, lunch, supper. Is Torah part of that schedule of your life? And as you all know, it's very difficult to answer that question. Every one of us has tremendous obligations in the workplace, community, family. And one who makes it his business to always study Torah on a regular basis, and that's something which you can't do on yourself. You need the support of your entire family, your spouse, your children. You need their encouragement. You need their sacrifice. But someone who shows that fortitude is really inspiration for us all. Thank God, over the years, the Kollel is here over 41 years. We've seen people that have been touched by the Kollel. They've been inspired. And many of them have taken the next step. And they were kovei itim laTorah. The Torah became a regular part of their life, just like lunch and supper. And every few years, the Kollel highlights such people, not merely an honor to them, but an inspiration for us all. And we are privileged tonight that we are honoring and highlighting two very special people who've been learning together in the Kollel for some 18 years on a regular basis, and they have responsibilities at work and family and community. These are Rav Yosef Bowman and his wife and his family, and Rav Michael Halon, his wife and family. And it's my privilege right now to present both of them the Kvias Itim Award of the Kollel Institute. Would you please come to the dais?
You should choose B before H.
What?
It's the same award, but B for Bowman.
Oh. This is the same, I'm told this is exactly the same award for both of them. So in recognition of Rav Yosef, Mr. Michol's outstanding dedication to the mitzvahs equal to all others, Limud Torah, for 18 years together with his chavrus Rav Michael Halan, Yosef has steadfastly set aside time each night to learn in the Kollel Beis HaMedrash, thereby fulfilling in an exemplary manner the eternal call of Chazal, Kovata itim laTorah. It is our fervent hope that this remarkable kvius continues for many years to come, inspiring us all to follow in your footsteps. May you and your Eishes Chayil, whose heartfelt desires for you to grow in Torah, be gebenched with brocha, hatzlocha, and much Yiddish and nachas from your entire family, then holos v'chavrei Kollel.
When you opened up the Kollel invitation, you may have had a couple of thoughts. One of them probably was, oh no, there are 3 honorees. That means an extra speech I'll have to sit through. But let me assure you, as much as you don't want to hear me speak, I'd rather not speak much more. However, I wasn't given much of a choice, and I'll make it brief. Since the honor tonight is Kvias Itim Award, I figured I should look in Perkei Avos that we are about to start again after Pesach. In the first parak it says, Shamay Omer, Asay Torah Kava, and Mar Ma'at V'asay Harbe. Shamay says, make Torah a fixed practice, say little, and do a lot. Let me tell you a little story. Shortly before I moved from Lakewood, I was stopped one morning before Seder by Yitzchak Schwab. He was all excited because he heard I was moving back to Detroit. Right off the bat, he started telling me that I have to move near the Kollel to learn there, and I should develop a shaykhus with the Kollel and the Younger Light. He didn't just stop there. He got his mother involved, and together with my mother, they found me a house to rent near the Kollel so I can learn and daven there. Once we arrived, everyone made it easy for me to feel part of the Kollel family, even though I was working. To everyone in the Kollel that made my wife and I feel welcome, I thank you. I would also like to thank Yosef Machavrusa for the past 18 years. Even though it is not the longest running Chavrusa Shaft in the Kollel, it is the longest one that I've ever had, and I'm looking forward to learning together for many more years. Growing up, I remember my father racing through supper every night to get to his Chavrusa to learn. I would like to thank my parents and in-laws for not just telling us, but for showing us by example the importance of learning every day, and I hope that I have passed that on to my children. And finally, I would like to thank my wife Leah. Without you, tonight could never have happened. Not only has she supported my daily learning, but she has also encouraged me to increase it. Looking back over the past 18 years, there's no doubt that our family has benefited so much from being able to learn each day at the Kollel. Thank you and good night.
Bershus Rosh HaKollel, other Rabbanim, Chavrei HaKollel, honored guests. One Wednesday night in late January was when we first heard the ominous words from Rabbi Green. Gentlemen, Rabbi Arns would like to speak to you after Ma'ariv. Neither of us wanted to accept the honor. We feel there are people that are much more deserving than us. We're actually not sure that we officially accepted the honor yet. Rabbi Green, can we back out? So we've gotten a lot of comments since then, along the lines of, wow, that's a real chesed shalemus that you're doing. I can't believe you agreed to do this. And you should be honored just because you agreed to be honored. But mostly it's been, wow, it's really nice of you to help the Kollel. So what was the pitch to get us to accept? It was an appeal for us to do our part to help the Kollel, give back, and spread the word about what the Kollel is all about, and specifically the community night seder that we attend. It's all about the learning, teaching, growing together. We sit in the middle of the room. We've been there for about 18 years. The room has expanded a bit. And we get to see what's happened over that time. We see the diversity. We see the eclectic group that comes to night seder. We see Reb Tovia Schwab seeing every new person that comes in, trying to set them up with the chavrusa. We see people from all parts of the community, people who come for night seder. Dr. Levy is a great example. People who are busy, as mentioned before, have jobs, commitments, but are regular. Some come a few times a week, some even come once a week, but they are kavei itim in their own, on their own right. And of course, a special thank you to all the wives that get their husbands out to go learn and be kavei itim. So we've personally gained from learning at the Kollel, and this is what we felt we could give back. So I give my own thank yous. Thank the Rebbeinu Shalom, thank the entire Detroit community for this, our home for the last almost 20 years. Thanks to the Kollel. A special thank you on behalf of my wife and myself, our parents, our in-laws, grandparents, for everything that you do and just the inspiration that you provide every day. I also want to thank my Chavrusa Chali for the chizuk that you provide, arranging schedules. You're making the calls, you're on a trip from the East Coast, coming back. You want to know if we can learn. I think it's not just because you don't want to unpack the car, but you really actually want to try to make it to learning if you can. And pushing and making sure that we do what we set out to accomplish each night. Rabbi Green, not for your part in choosing us as honorees, but for the tremendous amount of work that we see you put into the Kollel, the quiet, dedicated, unassuming way that you go about your avodas hakodesh, your work for the Kollel. Thank you. Our guest of honor, Dr. Levy, for all that you do for the community and for the Kollel. Relatives, friends, everyone that has come out tonight, supporters, my aunt and uncle are here from Eretz Yisrael. Whether they're here special, I think they're here special for us. Thank you. And of course, my wife Miriam. Thank you for everything you do for the family. Wait, there's more. Your part as a role model, calm, multitasker, example that you show every day to do the right thing, and of course, getting me out at night to learn. May we be zeicha to continue raising our children the right way in Sheping Nachas. So I'll close with a short Dvar Torah. It's still during, closer to Purim than Pesach, so I can say something briefly on the Megillah. Haman said to Achashverosh about the Jewish people, Yeshnoi am echad mufuzar u'mufayrod bein ha'amim. There is a nation spread among the other nations. We know that Haman always tried to show the worst in people. What was he trying to accomplish by that phrase? The Or Gedaliyahu explains that what keeps the Bnei Yisrael on the right track is achdus, togetherness, considering ourselves part of the klal. The ultimate togetherness was coming together in Matan Torah and here accepting the Torah at Har Sinai. We also know that our actions impact others. If everyone is only thinking of themselves, it's easy to stumble, not do the right thing. Therefore, we need to consider ourselves part of the greater good, that our actions impact others, as mentioned by our dinner chairman in the amazing story that he said about the Holocaust and the blanket. So Haman's intention was not that the Bnei Yisrael were spread apart, Mefuzar spread apart physically, but spiritually they were not ba'achdas, not together. Once they were not together, Haman and Achashverosh would have the power over the Bnei Yisrael, be able to defeat them. So what was the answer to that? Esther said, Lech k'noises kol Yehudim, gather everyone together to learn, to daven. And ultimately they didn't be able to be nekalu v'yamoid al nafsham, to defeat their enemies. The Nesivos also adds on the Megillah that the reason why we do Matanos Levyonim and Mishloach Manos is also to promote that Ava V'Reis, the love for our fellow Jew. So when you think about this, it's easy to see this is what the Kollel is all about. It's about Kollel, which the definition of Kollel is to include, inclusion. Gathering together to do what's right, learn Torah, to do something that benefits everyone. We're part of the klal, doing what is right, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. The inclusiveness of the Kollel is what makes it special. On behalf of my Chavrusa and me, it's been good for us, good for our families, great for the community, and we just wanted to say thank you.
The main course will be served. Can I just have your attention, please? Give you your attention. I've just been informed that we have a very special guest this evening. At this time, I'd like to call on Mr. Sheldon Yellen to say a few words.
Thank you. I was asked by Rabbi Green to just come on up and talk a little bit about a few experiences I've had recently. And I'll try to keep it short. For those of you that know, I came to find my Judaism about 11 years ago. And I was 47 years old when I ran into Rabbi Green, at which time I decided to go into the Kollel a little bit and start to learn with Rabbi Green. Since then, I would guess you would call me a Zionist. And I've been back and forth in the last 2 years to Israel 8 times and have gotten I can eliminate that applause by telling you the first time I went to Israel was only 2 years ago. But I fell in love, obviously, with the country, and I fell in love more with the people. I've been very lucky and fortunate to have gotten involved and adopted a village, Nativ HaSarah, right on the border with Gaza. And in fact, during the Gaza War of 2014, I flew into Israel to be with the people there in the village of Nativ HaSarah, and was not supposed to be allowed, but I wound up volunteering into the IDF. And I got to see and experience firsthand and came very close to realizing what death really is and how serious, as Jews, we are threatened physically. And you don't need me to stand up here and explain it to you. It's clear every day we're physically threatened. But one of the things I've come to learn is that we're also spiritually threatened. And through my journey, which I guess in a sense I should thank God that I'm standing here today, I've learned that as big and bad as I thought I could be with a gun at my side, a machine gun over my shoulder, a grenade on my hip, I realized that that's one aspect of our struggle. The other aspect of our struggle is what allowed me to get to that point, and that's the spiritual side. 10 minutes ago, I heard one of the honorees say that the Kollel is a place that you come together to learn, to study, open up the doors, open up your arms, and it's a place of inclusion and diversity. I think I clearly represent diversity in this room. So, I thank you for allowing me to be here. As I've talked to more and more young people, and as I go around the country now, and I do, sharing my stories, my experiences that I've had, and as I've become in contact with the politicians in Israel and spend time in the Knesset, and with Yisrael Katz, with Bogi Ayalon, the defense minister, with Bibi. 2 weeks ago, I spent time with Danny Danon, our Israeli ambassador in the United Nations. And I can tell you, you may not find this surprising, but we are not well liked around the world. You spend time at the United Nations with Danny Danon, and I got to tell you, you talk about a lonely existence. It's unbelievable how the world and how people treat the Israeli delegation. It's unbelievable. And so, as I go around and try and talk to young people and try to get them engaged and to find their deep-rooted Judaism and try and find that passion, I realize that I really cannot do that great of a job because I didn't learn as much as I need to know. And so I say to you that as we're threatened physically, and I try to operate on that end of the spectrum, we're threatened spiritually, as I've said, and you guys are surely working on that end of the spectrum. And it's so important. And you have to find ways to reach out, in my opinion. And I feel kind of ignorant standing up here telling you what to do, or I guess I should ask you. I would ask of you to reach out to these young people that are not grounded in Judaism, that are lost, to reach out to them and find a way to connect with them and help them find that spiritual side that's going to keep this thing going. To sustain it, these young people need more of what you've got than they need of what I've got. And so, if there's an ask, and I could ask, I would ask you to find ways to reach out to young people all over the community. And when you talk about diversity, there's huge diversity within our community. But they need to hear from you. They need time to sit and listen to you, to understand what's so important, so that one day they can stand up and fight both spiritually and, unfortunately, physically against these threats that we face. In my office, I have 2 bullet casings and a rocket from Hamas, a Hamas rocket that landed right next to us and exploded. We lost a member of the village during the war. And I have these things in my office to remind me of the threats we have every day. I also have in my office a letter that Rabbi Green wrote me. And I look at that every day too. I look at the bomb that blew up next to me that I was lucky enough to walk away from to remind me of the physical threat. And I look at the letter that Rabbi Green wrote me to remind me of the spiritual emptiness that way too many of us have had. And so, all of you that are here tonight, you have a huge role to play in the lives of a lot of people that are not here tonight. And again, I ask you to find a way to reach out to them. I was lucky. Rabbi Green found me and brought me home. Go find somebody and bring them home. Thank you.
carry on eating.
He's not friendly with Arthur White.
Tell.
Wow. Speaking of diversity, thank you, Sheldon. Speaking of diversity, tonight, as I look out at the banquet hall, I see a cross-section of the community. In truth, this is what we see every night at the Kollel's Community Night Seder. I believe this speaks to the success of the Detroit's Community Kollel, and that success is largely due to two people. The Rosh Kollel, Rav Moshe Schwab Shlita, and Rav Shmuel Irons Shlita. It is a tremendous kavod for me right now to call on the Rosh Kollel, Rabbi Moshe Schwab.
Sheldon, I have to say, your words had an emotional impact on me. And just like you came home, we all wish on ourselves we should come home. Amen. I would just like to say like this. We're living in a period of history that our Chachamim, our sages, call Chevlei Moshiach. The birth pangs of Mashiach, the contractions of Mashiach. Something new is being born. We don't know yet what. Even if we look at the political situation in America today, we see something new is being born. That's what Chazal tell us, that this period of history is called Chevlei, the birth pangs, the contractions of Mashiach. The Jewish response to crisis is that after every conflict that we go through, the Jewish nation discovers some hidden reservoir of spirit that we didn't know we had. A lot of our basic powers to do something that matter, to do something that has eternity, lies stillborn in us. Often a crisis brings out that reservoir, hidden reservoir. And the Jewish nation has an ability to face crisis with a renewal of life. What is that secret? Why do we have over the last 2,000 years that ability from destruction, from discord, from utter despair to rebuild, renew, rejuvenate? What is the secret of the Jewish people? The Torah tells us that there was a night when Yaakov, Jacob, fought with the Malach, with the angel, wrestled the whole night till dawn. A whole night he was alone. It was a lonely night, and he had to wrestle with this divine being, this angel. And it was time of dawn. The angel said, "Let me go. Enough. You're holding me so tight. Let me go." So Yaakov said, "Oh no, I'm not going to let you go now. I'm not going to ad ki berachtoni. You have to bless me. I'm not going to let you go after a whole night of wrestling with you till you bless me." And the name of Yisrael, Israel, is Chisarisa Lakim Anoshim Atuchal. You wrestled with a godly divine being and with man, and you prevailed. The Jewish people got the name Yisrael, Israel, because they were able to prevail with the koyach of emunah, faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the godly manner, that they could fight with a divine malach, vatuchal, and you were able to prevail. The Jewish people have the power from out of discord, from out of when they have to go through periods of they were hunted down by the nations. They came out with renewed strength, with renewed vigor. That secret that HaKadosh Baruch Hu endowed in us, that is Yisrael, that's the name Israel. It means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the most mighty. It shows that something spiritual, like Sheldon spoke about, that's stronger even than the physical. That's why we are still around to tell the tale after 2,000 years, and Yitz Hashem will be around at Bias HaMashiach. There's one person in our community that represents that power, that people who know his personal life and his life calling, person arrived to overcome that distress that sometimes meets us in life and turn it into a winning streak. That is Rabbi Elmelech Goldberg. I would like to ask Rabbi Elmelech Goldberg tonight to come up and present the award to our honoree. Okay.
Thank you, Rav Schwab, for those wonderful words. There's a gentleman who walked into a cardiologist's office. Sits down and the doctor says to him, "Sir, what seems to be your problem?" He says, "I think I'm a moth." So you think you're a moth? He says, "Yeah, I think I'm a moth." "Well, I would suggest you see a psychiatrist, not a cardiologist." He says, "Yeah, I know." He says, So why did you walk in here?" He says, "The light was on." I'd like to share a blessing of lights. I'm so honored to be here to call upon Noah to represent Noah and Sherry and their wonderful family. Very few people know the real profession of Noah Levy. Noah's into Kiruv. He helps more people. We could do without it. Noah allows more people to come close to their roots in a healthy way than anybody else around. But it's not just the Southfield Family Dental Center, and I was just there yesterday, and for a rabbi to go into a dentist chair is painful, not because they're not great dentists there. No, they're wonderful. They lie you back. They put about 27 instruments in your mouth. And then they start asking questions. For a Rav, that's impossible. This is the week that we read the Parsha of Shmini. The 8th day is miraculous, mystical day of dedication. After finally all of the workings to inaugurate the tabernacle,
This is the day, the pinnacle of the Jewish people, day when they finally got a microphone that works. Finally they had, much better. Can you hear me now? Today's the day that they finally had the temple, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the divine presence. That loud voice that came out of nowhere. You have to roll with the flow. Today should have been the most joyous of days, but it was marred by the tragic death of Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Avihu. You know the story. Vayidom Aaron, and the heroic response of Aaron was to remain silent in the face of this tragedy. But the rabbis speak about King David, L'man yizamecha kavod v'lo yidom, that even resides within the human capacity of the Jewish people to look at death and to continue to sing the song. The eighth day, the Yom HaShmini, is that which transcends nature. But it's not merely a description of the mystical workings of heaven. It's the spirit that God placed within the Jewish people to celebrate Torah, to celebrate Kollel, and to have on the table pictures of Ruth and Beno Levi. Knowing that the past and the present mold together to form the future. L'man yizamecha kavod, and in the context of that which other peoples view as the past, those who are no longer here, lies within the context of Jewish survival the capacity to know that we all sit together with generations upon generations, the reality of what we are and what we need to be is not merely an extension of Ruth and Beno Levi. It's a complement because they sit with us. And this is the reason that Noah accepted this honor. Noah is usually a very shy individual, right, Sherry? Usually loves to do things behind the scenes with great, great influence and little fanfare. And to see your family sit together to celebrate. And I have to say, on a personal level, to see your family here when Kobe Olav Hashalom was such an important influence on me in my life and what I do, and an inspiration, and continues to be with me every single day. And to watch that continuum of the history of our people and to celebrate the Kollel and your connection and sacrifice, you, your family, what you are, who you are, and Beno and Ruth Levi sitting in the middle of the table, it couldn't be more perfect for Yom HaShmini. Because that which transcends nature is our ability to hold hands with the past and bring that past into a future of dedication and of promise. I've had the privilege of sitting and learning in the Kollel for almost 32 years now. Rav Shmuel and I started learning together when we were very young. He's still very young. But when one walks through the doors of that building, one is transported to a place that connects the past and the future, where Rav and Abaya, with Talmudic discourse of centuries and millennia, when Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, they all sit together with us on our tables in the Kollel. And the ability, like the Yom HaShmini, the eighth day, that which transcends nature, not to be quiet, but to continue to sing the praises of Torah, to grow, to learn, to grasp every single word of Torah that is offered in those four walls are words that mirror a beautiful song in heaven. To have Ruth and Benno at this wonderful ceremony is to add the notes of a song that will continue for the infinite, eternal history of our people, because we're connected to this Torah. V'lo yidom. This is our praise, this is our song, and this is the reality that we live with, and which Noah and Sherry and their beautiful family have placed into their lives. A Keser Shem Tov award, a crown of a good name. The word name, we know we have an entire book of the Bible, the book of Shmos. But why is a name so important? The same word as shame is the word sham or sum, to put something there. Within everyone's name is the destiny of where we can get to, where we need to go and to grow. So a good name is not merely an established label. It's part of a song that brings us to the future, to bring us there. The Kollel is an institution that's a vehicle of bringing the Jewish people there. As Sheldon said, bringing us back home, but all of us as a people. And every dollar that's invested into the Kollel is not simply that which translates into a budget. It rebuilds a tabernacle, and it's forever. It's an investment. As we well know that things fall apart in life, and if you're in a business like Belfer, it's not a bad deal. It's good for that to happen from time to time. Sheldon did our basement, did a great job. Trying to give you a plug. But it's not about putting planks together or laying rugs. It paints the neshama, the soul of the Jewish people, with the actual image of God himself. And that's what our Kollel is like, and that's what it is, and thanks to Rav Schwab, Rav Irons, and the wonderful, wonderful people who form the leadership of the Kollel and dedicate their lives to Torah. They not only have created a building, but they've created a vehicle to bring us there, to bring us home, to bring us to that place that allows us to sing the song of Ruth and Benno Levi, and to know that our children and our grandchildren will continue to sing that song. My dear friend Noah, if I could ask you to come forward. The Keser Shem Tov Award, Dr. and Mrs. Noah Levy, in recognition of two wonderful individuals who together, in all aspects of their lives, and really together, have endeared themselves to each other, to their family, and to all who know them. Through myriad acts of Gemilas Chasadim, coupled with deep appreciation for Torah study and love for their shul and their people, Noah and Sherry have acquired for themselves an exceptional Shem Tov. In the merit of sharing their good name for the sake of upholding Hashem's Torah, may He bench the levies in His name with bracha atzlacha and much Yiddish and nachas from their children, the Hanhala v'chevra HaKollel, from the leadership and the members of the Kollel, at the 41st anniversary dinner, Wednesday, March 30, 2016.
Thank you, Rabbi Goldberg. That was very beautiful. You didn't let me down. Honored rabbis, Kollel members, distinguished guests, friends. You know what, I'm just going to stop for a second. If you will please indulge me, just for a moment. As I was driving here today, I got this crazy idea. I've always wanted to have a selfie with around 500 people on it, including many black cats, which is going to be awesome. So if you'll indulge me, and when I say so, you'll say cheese. Rabbi Green, where are you? I expect to see this in next year's ad book, okay? Wait a second. This is crazy. My iPhone is not working. I'm serious. Girls? Steve Jobs is really embarrassed right now. Try again. Okay. Whose phone is this? Okay. Okay. That was just supposed to take like 15 seconds. Okay, everybody. Cheese! That's pretty good. Wow, thank you, thank you. You're all good sports. Don't worry. That was my last digression, maybe. Okay, honored rabbis, Kollel members, distinguished guests, friends, and dear family. Okay, one more digression, if you will indulge me. Tonight, as we've heard, the Kollel was kind enough to honor the memory of my parents, Ruth and Benno Levy. Consequently, I know my mother would never miss a party if she could avoid one, if she could possibly avoid missing one. So I know she's here, as is my father. And just to explain, in the last few years of her life, whenever we went to a family function, my mom would go out of her way to speak, and when she spoke, she basically bragged about her children. Okay, so we're just going to do that for maybe a minute or two. My siblings were kind enough to come in and help honor the memory of our parents. So we're just going to go I just want to introduce my siblings very quickly and brag a little bit, okay? My oldest sister, Reggie, is here, Reggie Cummins. A lot of you would remember her. I'm very proud of Reggie. We are so proud of her. She's finishing up a multi-year career in writing computer programs, and she's moving to Israel, making Aliyah in October with her amazing husband, David, who we love. Next is my next sister, Tova Weinberg, who I don't believe really needs an introduction, world-famous shadchan. She probably fixed up a few people here. Maybe not. Very proud of Tova. She works tirelessly, full-time, fixing up Jewish people to help us on the continuum of Yiddishkeit. And Tova, if I never told you this, I'm very, very proud of you. Okay? But I've probably told you. Next is my older brother, Ernie Levy, Dr. Ernest Levy, from Teaneck, New Jersey. Ernie, really, and if I haven't told you this, here's the news, Ernie is my role model. Honestly, the guy learns Torah twice a day, every day, 7 out of 7 days, okay? I mean, I've had the honor and the privilege of sitting in on his Shabbos Chabura, where we sit down at his friend's table and 2 hours of straight Torah. There's no sports scores, there's no discussion of anything but pure Torah, 2 hours. It's amazing and enlightening and enlifting, and what can I tell you, Ernie? I am proud of you, and our mother is kvelling, as is our father. My next brother, Uri, couldn't be here, but to suffice it to say that we all agree that Uri's Torah study in particular, he's very diligent, and we've seen his Torah study, and and knowledge of Torah grow every year. And we're very proud of him as well. I think he might be watching. Hi, Uriel. And last but not least, my baby brother, Gabe the baby. Gabe, we're very proud of Gabe. Him and his wife, Anat, have begun they're becoming famous on the Upper West Side of Manhattan for their astounding Hachnasas Orchim on Shabbos, and they're hosting singles and continuing the family tradition of fixing up Jewish people, and we're very proud of you, Gaby. Keep up the good work. I want to continue to hear some good things. Okay, honestly, no more digressions. We're ready to go. Well, it still seems abyssal meshuggah for me to be an honoree at the Kollel dinner. I finally came up with a couple of good reasons to justify my having accepted. In 2 words, those reasons are parents and pathways. The first, my parents, may their memory be for a blessing to all of us, and of course how we wish they were here. Emerging from the bleak darkness of World War II, Benno and Ruth Levy zestfully created a vivid life filled with vibrant color. One of our family friends reminded me of the great big, colorful Shabbos salad they joined forces to make together each week. The 2 of them would go into the kitchen after shul and begin cutting and chopping every kind of vegetable imaginable. As they chatted animatedly with guests and each other, they created this huge salad that looked like a rainbow. And that's how they lived their lives, taking in Jews of every stripe and color and combining all of these friends and neighbors into one great united love fest. United Levy Love Fest. The house was always bursting with color, love, laughter, Jewish feelings and flavors, and lots of warmth. And their embrace was large enough and inviting enough to make everyone feel welcome and heard. That's who our dear parents were, people determined to raise their children as committed Torah Jews and give us their resilient Masorah in a loving, accepting atmosphere. We are so proud of the way they lived their lives, so grateful for everything they taught us, and know that this moment must be making them very proud. May they be Malitze Yosher for all of us, and may we always feel their smile shining down upon us. The second reason is pathways. You know, I went to a Jewish day school, high school, and then on to college. I got married, I started a family, I opened a practice, and sadly, I fell out of the habits of daily learning. And when Rabbi Rothbart kindly offered that I join his weekly Or Sameach study group, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I can't go through life with a 16-year-old's understanding of Judaism. That just was not going to cut it. And the reason that we have to learn every day is because we can't accomplish whatever we are here to do without the concurrent growth that comes from learning daily. Well, the more I got involved with learning, the more ramped up it became. I realized how much I was gaining from this pathway of daily Torah study, not the least of which is a renewed sense of sanity and hope. So many families are finding their pathways back to Yiddishkeit. We see a tremendous resurgence of coming back and of moving forward. Mom and Dad, when I think of what you faced, I think of the words that we will say soon in the Haggadah, V'hi she'amda lavosenu. It is this that has stood by our fathers and us, and this is our Torah HaKedusha. But we can't keep up this phenomenal growth without extraordinary institutions like the Kollel and it is incumbent upon all of us to support it with our resources and our participation in learning. So, huge thank yous and kol hakavod to the rabbis who have inspired me along this pathway, to Rabbi Rothbart, to Rabbi Zimmerman, to Rabbi Cohen, to Rabbi Morris, to Rabbi Goldberg. I could name others, but I could go on too long. I probably have already gone on too long. Just like my parents, we here at the Kollel have a veritable rainbow of people who comprise our warm and embracing Kollel. And I expect everyone here to talk it up, make it a part of their regular tzedakah commitment. And guys, come learn. There's so much to learn. A zillion thanks to my darling wife, Sherry Levy, for her amazing support and encouragement. And to my amazing children, three of whom are here, Lainey Levy from New York City, came in on the red eye, leaving on the red eye. Aviva and Chava, love you guys. And Rafi, who is not here, he's learning in Israel. And Esti, who just took an exam. All my 5 kids, I want you to know that you share in this proud mitzvah as well. Gentlemen, come to the Kollel. We will find you a partner. Tuvia, where are you? Tuvia is going to find you a partner. There he is, right? And you can start to improve your life tomorrow. Let me just conclude with the words which pretty much sum it up. This is from the first chapter of the Mishnah of Avos and the first pasuk. Moshe kibel Torah misinai u'masor liYoshua v'Yoshua lizkenim u'zkenim linevim u'nevim mesaruha la'anshe knesset agadola. Rabbi Beryl Wine explains this. This is not a translation, but he explains this to mean that Judaism is a religion of personal tradition, of binding the past to the present and to the future. It is a seamless chain of experience and memory. Its knowledge and truths pass from parent to child, from teacher to student, from leaders to the members of our community, of the community. And that is why we are here tonight, to honor this amazing institution of the Kollel, which helps us continue to pass on the Masorah, which will help us be there in the coming days when the Mashiach comes and we can all make our way to Jerusalem in peace. Thank you tonight for everybody for coming. Enjoy your dessert. Is there dessert?
Dessert will be served. There's tables for dessert on both sides of the room.